Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12th man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Good morning, Bryan College Station. Welcome to TexAgs Live, the B-team version of TexAgs Live here on a Thursday morning. I'm Ryan Brauninger. To my left, that velvety, yummy East Texas voice, Olin Buchanan.
Howdy.
And Olin, what's the old saying? Misery loves company.
Yeah.
And if you go through the A&M athletic calendar this year, we've talked about it a lot. There's been some misery.
Yeah.
There's been some disappointment. When you look at football, 7-1, they waffle to the finish line. Aggie basketball kind of flounders toward the end of the regular season. They have the heartbreaker against Michigan in the second round. Softball loses at home as the number one overall seed in the regional.
Baseball doesn't even get in.
Baseball doesn't even get into a regional.
So come on over here.
And if you are going to waller in your misery, what other animal would you want to waller with more than some hogs?
Probably a pig, you know. Come on over here, Arkansas. Let's put our arms around you and say, we understand. We've been there. Maybe not like that, though.
So we are going to talk a little bit during the show today about what we saw last night on the field, Charles Schwab Stadium in Omaha, LSU, Arkansas, national semifinal. And it's kind of been a house of horrors up there for the Razorbacks, but last night may take the cake.
I don't know. They were still a pop-up.
I know.
Away from a national championship one year.
Let's go around the room. Let's introduce who is around us today, who's helping us on the show. And then we're going to get into that because this guy over here to our right in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, Matthew Dawson, sharp guy.
Yes.
Sharp guy.
Sometimes.
So whenever we have him in there, in here, we have to take advantage of his brain. So we're going to use him
That's
today.
the B and B team for him.
Yes.
Brauninger, Buchanan,
Brains.
Look, I'm not going to necessarily say I'm super sharp, but I would say that I would have gone to second with that ball. I would have gone to second with that ball.
That's Matthew Dawson in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Behind the glass, pulling the strings, a man who has spent a lot of time this summer around the baseball diamond, calling play-by-play for the Brazos Valley Bombers. Nick Savage, would you have thrown that ball to second base?
I didn't get to watch the game as closely as y'all did, but no, I don't think I would have either.
You wouldn't have thrown the ball to second base.
No, Nick, you would have.
Or would have. Sorry. Yeah, see, that shows you what I just said. I didn't really get to pay too close of attention to it. I saw the walk-off, and I saw the unfortunate play in left field as well, but yeah.
I would have, it would have been a joy to have you on the play-by-play call and hearing your reaction to it, Nick. I mean, if the Bombers would have pulled something like that, you'd have let all the angry fans like you to join in their emotional misery.
Well, speaking of, what would have been interesting is, the radio play-by-play for Arkansas guy. He's probably employed by Arkansas, so he can't just dump on the players on 3 consecutive plays, or I think it was. But how do you call that collapse and still sound like?
You bring up a good point, and because this is what. There is a line you have to walk. Whenever I went to Vanderbilt and I was on the radio call with Will Johnson for the A&M Vanderbilt series and they struck out 78 times in 3 games, it's like, how do you properly address what you're seeing without being like, getting overly emotional about, because it's a long season. But in that moment with your season on the line for the Razorbacks, I think it's more like, because of how it happened, I don't think it's more anger. I just think it's like heartbreaking disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like having to deliver bad news to family, you know?
Yeah, it stinks. Like, but anger is not the emotion that you're going in with.
Yeah.
Now, I think in the moments after, and apparently on the message board forums in Hogville.
Yeah, those poor Hogville guys. So I have to admit, I have a litany of character flaws, and one of them is sometimes enjoy other people's misery. And so I did have to go to Hogville.
There's a term for this. Do you know that now? The kids are calling it hate watching.
Oh, I figure it's just called, OB being OB the a-hole. That's what kind of But so this one kind of caught my attention. In case, surely you saw it. If you didn't,
we're going to go over it.
Arkansas.
But the emotion of the fan base after is like some of this is hilarious.
Just 3 consecutive bonehead plays to lose to LSU last night. And this guy writes, it's not that we lose in the big moments of the biggest stages. It's how we lose. Our program seemed to literally invent new ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I have never seen such a lack of killer instinct and inability to finish as I have in countless Razorback athletic contests. It's to the point that many posters have commented in each major forum that they watch just to see in what insane way our football, basketball, baseball, softball team is going to lose. It's insane!
Boy, he really had us captivated in here, Dawson.
Well, I went to state at White Oak High School in UIL prose interpretation. So there you go.
You have one more.
Yeah, I got another one. It's not quite. This is more. I don't really have any other way to describe my feelings at the moment. 62 years young, seeing so many of these moments as a Hog fan hurts, but more numb than painful, I guess. I figure there are other teams that have their share of disappointments. Hello. But this one is mine. Come on over, Razorbacks. Come on over.
Ladies and gentlemen, listening across the airwaves.
We'll give you a pat on the back. We understand.
Olin Buchanan reading Shakespeare.
It's insane.
Yeah, when are we going to get the Olin Buchanan version of... Can I just get like an Olin Buchanan version of every audiobook that I buy from here on out?
Hey, you might be missing out on a bunch of money here.
What are these audiobooks of which you speak?
That means he's going to have to read, like, legit read.
I'm talking about self-help books. I'm talking about good books, Obi. I don't know.
Hold on, self-help books? Could you imagine that voice telling you, get out of bed?
Get out of bed.
Quinn would be the biggest Olin Buchanan self-help book reader on the planet.
Well, the book part I got, it was the audio part that kind of threw me. Audiobooks?
You don't know what an audiobook is?
That's a big-time dad joke. Audiobook. Yeah, this is what you get in summertime B-team version of TexAgs Live.
It's going to go off the rails. It always does.
Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers inside the Rollo Insurance Studios. We would normally be right over there in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
The Cool Zone.
But...
Anywhere
me and you are, that's the cool zone.
Yeah, it's true.
That's right. Because me and
we're abnormally cool.
We're cooler than a fan. Today's show, Stephen McGee. You want to talk about going off the rails? We'll see if I can keep that on the straight and narrow there.
Trying to think of ways to make him, start.
But when I'm in the host chair and McGee comes in here, it's legit like Dawson. You're not too far removed from high school. It's legit like substitute teacher day. Like substitute teacher walks in the classroom wheeling in a TV on a cart, and you're like, all right, we ain't doing a thing today, and we are going to run this classroom however we want to. And that's how McGee and OB are whenever I'm in the host chair.
What topic can we bring up to try to get McGee tickled and laughing, or maybe we should ask him what his most disappointing loss was,
so the interns prep. They have these like on the file for the show rundown. There's a page where they have prepped some stuff that we can ask the guests. Aaron Torres. There's a Stephen McGee prep section selected by the Cowboys in the 4th round of the 2009 NFL Draft. 3 games played, 46 completions and 82 attempts for 420 yards. Can Matthew Dawson and his numbers put together some advanced stats for Stephen McGee's time as a Dallas Cowboy?
You know what? Stephen McGee.
Processing. It's better than I.
Stephen
Stephen
McGee started a victory over the Philadelphia Eagles.
I was about to say.
That's good enough for me.
Won his only start against the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's good enough for me right there.
Also played for the Houston Texans. I didn't know he was with the Texans for a little bit.
So he was taken in the same round as Dak Prescott.
True.
4th round.
Now
Romo wasn't even drafted.
He can manage Dak Prescott's money. How many times has Dak beaten the Eagles?
Well, he's
had a lot more chances.
I'll say this. This is what we can brag about McGee about today. His winning percentage against the Eagles as a starter is much better than Dak's. Or if Staubach's, for that matter.
You want to see Olin Buchanan get real fired up, especially as, we're him-hawing in the foyer and he's meandering around. You want to see him get real fired up. Bring up Dak Prescott and Dak Prescott's career as a Cowboy and where he stands currently amongst NFL starting quarterbacks.
I was a big fan of Dak. I still am. I thought it was a steal when they drafted him, and it really was.
Are they going to win more than 8 games this year?
Shireen Williams yesterday said they would.
7.5 is the win total.
I'd go
Shireen
under.
said
why are they going to be better?
Because Shireen said so. That's all I need.
You can get it you can take the under, Brauninger, plus 135. So
what's the over?
Minus 160, 75, or
so
7.5.
A lot of the money is on them going over.
Yeah, so you'd have to. Well, that's just what the Cowboys are, America's team. So if you're going to take an over on the Cowboys, you better get it early before the entire market buys it up. So
the brain.
Well, why are they going to be better? And look, this is kind of moves me toward whatever prep I have for the show today. In the
George
football.
Pickens is why they're going to be. That's why you want to pick him, because of George Pickens.
Well, they got Pickens and they've got CeeDee Lamb, but are they going to be able to protect Dak? Can he stay healthy? What sort of running game can they muster?
It's like suddenly Jimbo is coaching the Cowboys because they can't ever keep their quarterback healthy anymore.
Well, they can't block.
But all those first-round offensive linemen.
Oh man, they wasted such a. When they had Tyron Smith and the kid from Notre Dame, Zach Martin. I mean, those are 2 of the best offensive linemen in franchise history. Good center. And they wasted. Oh my God.
Well, I'm a I'm a Texans guy.
I want to jump. I need to move to Arkansas. I'm suddenly so disappointed.
That was my goal, is to bring everybody down. I'm the anchor. I'm built like an anchor. By the way, I had to address something. I was driving to work. Was that Tuesday
better
morning?
Be a big dress.
That's good. That's good. I was driving to work the other morning.
Yesterday morning.
And I heard you and David and the suggestive comments you made about my size and stature. And then kept repeating them into the dismay of some of the interns in the studio here. And then I know you because when this is happening, because I didn't have the YouTube pulled up. I just was in my car. I had it on 1150 driving into work. And I was like, I can see Olin's face just by hearing his voice. So then I pull up the YouTube, and sure enough, I was right. Because there is, and David knows this probably better than anybody, when you sit in this chair and you've got to host this radio show, Dawson, and that face is right there next to you, to your left, you could be in the middle of a really serious point, but you say one wrong word, and that sick, twisted, demented brain of his immediately fires. And you can see it in his face. I don't know what's about to come out of this mouth, this East Texas mouth here, but I know it's going to be toxic. I can see it in his face and in his brain. All
I said was that he said something about massive and then mentioned you. I said massive girth. I mean, you're a massive guy. It's massive girth.
Well, and I can thank you.
Ask your mom, it was probably a massive birth.
I was a 9-pound, 9-ounce baby.
See?
But because of you, listen to this, because of you, I was getting chirped yesterday when I came on the show in the YouTube chat. I was getting chirped. People were calling me Girth Brooks.
I I wish I had thought of that. Girth approach. That's pretty good. That's pretty
Nick,
awesome.
we're going to break. When we come back, I promise we'll talk about sports. No more prose reading. No more girth talk. I promise we'll get this thing on the rails. I shouldn't promise that. We'll be back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuno here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games. They're at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it.
Whoever's spinning the wheels at the mothership, very apropos song to bring us back. I can't get no satisfaction. OB, those Arkansas fans.
The Hogs try, and they try.
All right, so let's recap. We talked about it a lot in the first segment, but we haven't broke down what happened in that ninth inning last night. Arkansas up 5-3. Really a sensationally played game.
Got the first guy out. Got the leadoff batter out.
Yes. After falling behind to a 3-1 count, their freshman reliever, closer, who's been, his strikeout to walk ratio, Dawson, I think it was 53 punch-outs in 28 innings going into last night. Just insane strikeout numbers for this kid. Falls behind the first guy, 3-1, bounces back, gets a strikeout. The next hitter, ground ball to the first baseman. Well, sort of.
To the right side of the infield.
The first baseman, for whatever reason, decides he needs to vacate to go get this ball. It's probably 8 or 9 steps to his right. It's probably 3 or 4 steps for the second baseman.
Seems like it was even more than 8 or 9 steps.
It was so far that everybody's going, what are you doing? Like, that's the second baseman's ball. There's a lot of reasons why it's the second baseman's ball, but let's just talk about the common sense that the second baseman, which direction is he moving to catch the ball?
Right.
Toward first base. The first baseman is moving away from first base. The second baseman is used to catching the ball and throwing it from right there, that area of the infield. The first baseman is not.
He's having to turn.
He backhanded the ball to his right, and so he's got to throw it overhand. The first baseman very rarely
to a moving target.
To a pitcher, they very rarely have to throw overhand to the pitcher. It's usually an underhand toss, right? So he's got to throw overhand at a moving target. And let me tell you this, I was talking to the guys in the back about this. I've seen it because I've coached for so long. Baseball players do not do well when they've got to throw to empty space. Football, like quarterbacks, that's what they do.
Right.
They throw to space. Yeah. Baseball players, most of the throws, I would say 9 out of every 10 throws, maybe even greater than that, you're throwing to a person fixed on a base.
Stationary target.
Right. So when you get them moving and they're throwing at space, they don't do well with it. And like you think about a pitcher when he fields a comebacker and he turns to look at second base and there's nobody standing on second yet, it messes with pitchers' brains. You've got to get them used to throwing at space, not at a target. So this first baseman is throwing to space, not at a target, throws it well behind the pitcher.
Into the dugout, right?
Just about. It was so bad, the throw was so bad, Dawson, that the catcher backing up wasn't even close to getting it. So there's a 1-out error, runner at second. Then the guy that doesn't walk anybody walks the 2-hole hitter. First and second, 1 out, and that Monster Milam was coming to the plate for LSU. So they're in the heart of their order. Still, Arkansas, you're going, hey, first and second, not ideal, 1 out, time runs at first, winning runs at the plate. But if we can get a ground ball, and if I can get a ground ball at an infielder, we can win the game.
Everything's fine.
And if you're the Arkansas Razorbacks, if I got to pick an infielder that I want a ground ball hit at, I'm not going to ask you.
I know it.
I'm not going to ask you.
Okay.
If you could pick Matthew Dawson from Central Illinois or Northern Illinois.
He's from Chicago, Chi-Town Matt.
If Chicago high school baseball not player, sometimes player. If you could pick an Arkansas infielder that you would want that ball hit to, who would it be?
Probably, I don't know, the first-round shortstop that they got over there?
Yeah, potential Golden Spikes Award winner,
Probably.
Aloy.
That's probably what I would do.
If you watched Arkansas baseball at all this year, but especially if you watched them against Texas A&M or any of their high-profile series, that guy's awesome.
Yeah.
He's an incredible player. Offense, defense, the whole thing. Like Matthew said, he is going to be a multi-millionaire here in a few weeks.
Sound like you were singing the Houston Oilers song for a minute there. Got the offense.
See, this is where his brain goes. You just never know.
All right,
He's trying to have a serious conversation right now.
No, I'm not.
We're talking about Arkansas baseball. How serious can it be?
I'm never trying to have a serious conversation with OB.
All right, so
they hit the ground ball.
Right.
And not only do they hit a ground ball at Vahiva Aloy, Monster Milam, it jams him. And we have research, there's plenty of research in baseball that when a hitter gets jammed, his home to first time is significantly slower. So it's hit a little bit to Vahiva Aloy's right, but not nearly enough.
It's a tailor-made double play.
It's a tailor-made double play ball. And where does he throw it?
Third base.
To third base. To the surprise of Brent Iredale, the Arkansas third baseman, who's not even standing on the base, has to catch the ball and then go touch the base. They get the lead runner out, and everybody in the ballpark's going, what did we just watch? What did we just watch? But hey, all right, our All-American shortstop has an all-time brain fart.
Yeah.
But there's still 2 outs and 2 on.
Yep.
We can still get out of this. And by the way, our best guy's on the mound.
And just, hey, don't give up a double, right?
Don't give up a double.
Yeah.
Outfielders, keep the ball in front of you.
Absolutely.
Don't give up a double. What happens?
They give up a double.
Well,
they assist in giving up
in conjunction with how the rest of the inning has gone.
It was insane.
It's a line drive, pretty well-struck ball at Charles Davalon, the left fielder. Another guy who has just been off the charts good for them this year. NCAA leader in hits. Okay? He's going to get drafted very high. Charles Davalon has a pretty well-hit line. I mean, it wasn't like a scorching missile, but pretty well-hit line drive that probably, if he just doesn't move at all, he's going to catch it right off his right shoulder.
Nelson Cruz would have caught it. Rangers fans.
Richard Zane would have caught it.
Now, wait a minute.
Okay. But
we got to draw a line somewhere.
Charles Davalon kind of freaks out off the bat. Then, whenever he goes to switch his feet, he loses his footing, and then an all-time freak out happens. So you have an all-time brain fart at short, and then you have a major freak out by a legit player in left field. And even still, Olin, he recovered enough in time to get his glove up, but the ball deflects off his shoulder, and it doesn't deflect in front of him or just to the side. It deflects into the left field corner, allowing LSU to tie the game. There's no, like, if the ball deflects any other place, Arkansas still has the lead going into that next hitter.
What should have been a single at best allowed a guy to score all the way from first.
It's, at best, it's a game-ending out.
No, I mean, okay. For Arkansas, what should have been a single at worst then?
Yes, at worst. And then they change pitchers. There's a runner at second. The winning run is at second base. And in steps Bear Jones. Everybody know who Bear Jones is? LSU's best player.
Pretty good.
One of the best players in the country.
Oh, Bear Jones is the best player.
One of.
Okay.
If you're talking
Didn't
about
he already
college,
have a home run earlier in the game?
Yes, that he hit 1,000 miles an hour. And he hit the home run at Charles Schwab Field to right center field where the ball doesn't go out. And not only did he hit a homer, he hit it and stood in the box and watched it. Like, that's how good he got that ball. So that's your most recent recollection of Bear Jones in the batter's box, if you're Arkansas. I've got Hernandez, who hit the line drive that was muffed in left field. I've got him at second base. He's a catcher. It doesn't run well.
Mm-hmm.
And here in walks Bear Jones. And I'm going to go, there's no way with 2 outs and first base open, he doesn't mean anything. The winning run is at second base. Put that giant joker on first. I don't care what the analytics say. I really don't. In that scenario, like, this is where I think coaches and Dave Van Horn has forgotten more about baseball than I know.
That might be the problem. He forgot it.
But there's no way. Like, this is where it's kind of convoluted between analytics and what your gut says and what your eyes say. Okay, in walks Bear Jones. The next guy, I think it was Curiel. The next guy might be just, his last 20 at-bats, he may have 11 hits. I don't think that's right. But Curiel, if he was hitting behind Jones, I think that's correct.
It was
I thought
Josh
Curiel
Pearson.
leads off.
Pearson?
It's Pearson, yeah.
Okay.
Curiel leads off.
Yeah, Pearson was behind him.
Yes.
So a senior.
Curiel was the guy that they threw behind when the first baseman didn't cover first.
That's right. So Pearson is coming up. I don't care if Pearson's 20 for his last 20, or if the analytics say, hey, he blitzes. What our guy on the mound does well and what our guys ready in the bullpen, what they do well, Pearson blitzes that. Like that's his best ball. I don't care if it says that. There's no way that you can let Bear Jones beat you. And guess what Bear Jones did?
Beat him.
He beat him.
Barely.
And the Tigers get an insane amount of breaks. They get one hit in the ninth inning, score 3 runs, and now they're going to play Coastal Carolina in the championship series. All right, when we come back, Stephen McGee back in the green room getting ready to go. We'll switch the attention, turn it to football. Aggies getting ready, not far away from kickoff of the 2025 season. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Cottonmouth. Suckers are go-getters.
That's Stephen McGee. I'm Ryan Brauninger, Olin Buchanan. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studios.
What is the toughest Texas snake? And this has to do with the mentality of a strong safety, i.e. Dawson, that we're going to pivot to here in a second.
We do have
the Terrence Keel of Deerfield, Illinois.
I have not told Savage, Nick Savage,
to. What he said.
We could probably pull that huddle tape pretty quick, Nick. Yes.
We don't need to do that, but
and could we maybe put the huddle tape on the big screen behind us and break it down with McGee? That would be a great 20 minutes.
That would be a great.
We should have had that when I was playing.
I would love.
We barely had tape. Not even.
I would love to see the Tice Tigers and the 8mm tape on Olin's dad's shoulder, videoing him out there just slinging it.
Slinging
pop pass to the tight end.
Cliff Reed
all day.
Speaking of camera, have we ever figured out the audition process Olin had to go through to get on Varsity Blues?
It's a very good question as well. I mean, there's all kind of good questions this morning. What was that?
There were some people during the break. Richard was saying that there was something where he had to sit down on a one-on-one with a guy.
See, here's what's going on.
I don't know who the producer was.
It wasn't the producer.
You had to get casted.
Yes.
You did?
I did. I had to get casted.
Okay.
On the casting couch. I know that's what you're going for, so I'm just going to throw it out there and throw out your punchline for you. I know that's what you want.
Yesterday on the show, Olin was calling me, he was like, Bronny is massive. He's girthy. That's what Olin kept. And then, he says that word, then looks
massive
around.
Girth.
Yeah. So I get on radio with Lucci yesterday, and me and Lucci are trying to hammer home some important stuff because the recruiting's been awesome. I don't know if you've been following it. A&M recruiting has been lights out. So we're trying to hammer home some of these points. And I'm I wonder if these people are really listening to us. Not just have us on in the background. They're really processing what we're saying. So I go to the YouTube page and I scroll down to look at the comments. And one guy put, nice to hear from Girth Brooks.
Girth Brooks.
I wish I'd have thought of that.
That's a great one.
Oh, hey.
He's got a friend in low places.
You're right. Hey, so Mike Elko is back on the talking circuit here, and a lot of talk about, not just with Coach Elko, but I pulled up Jake Crane podcast yesterday. They're breaking down their top quarterbacks in the SEC, and I think the perception regionally, maybe nationally, on Marcel Reed is probably more bullish than the A&M fan base. A lot of the people you hear talk about Marcel, this kid, yeah, he could have been better down the stretch, but the fact that he went through all that should mean that all that's knocked off and that there should be clear steps forward this fall.
Yeah, I think it's good to remember he was a freshman last year, right? He's a young kid out there playing in the toughest football conference of all football conferences, and certainly the toughest football conference in the history of college football. SEC today is as tough as there's ever been across the board. Maybe the old Southwestern Conference days. There's definitely some good days, but going against the defenses of the SEC, man, it's an incredible task, right? And let's not forget that, and this isn't to cast shade on any people out there, but the wide receiver group last year was way below average, and they weren't separating consistently, which doesn't help a young quarterback settle in and get easy completions. And so defenses were able to challenge us in a lot of ways last year. Single high, press guys, weren't clear windows to throw into. And so I think you take in all of that, the youngness, the lack of guys, weapons outside, losing Le'Veon Moss, transitioning into a new coordinator last year. There's a lot of reason for a bullish case, right? There's no doubt about it. He has an incredibly high upside. He can, not many kids can say this, but he can be as good of a football player as he wants to be, right? As much as he wants to put in the time to become a great quarterback, I think that the ceiling is very, very high for him. Now, we all agree. You know this. He's got to get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if he has a great year, we have a good football team. If he has an average year, we're going to have an average football team.
All right. Can I play devil's advocate there? I don't think he has to be great. If this team can't run the football, A&M will never run the football. So I think Marcel obviously fits into that scheme, but I don't think he has to be some elite 78, 81% completion percentage here.
Yeah, I think, sorry, when I say elite, like he's got to be elite in what they're asking him to do. And so, you know, making good decisions. I think sometimes last year the things that really cost us were going to be the big negative plays. The early interception against Texas is one that is always fresh in my mind because it was the last game that really think about it, forget about USC. But, you know, those type of plays really hurt your team. And those are the things you can't have from your quarterback position. Just pointless. It's not there. Don't force it. And then taking sacks, taking negative plays, right? Those are the types of things that I think really hurt an offense that are hard to overcome. And when I think about elite, I think about guys that make elite decisions consistently. And elite doesn't mean you're throwing a beautiful 50-yard post over the top. It means, you know, I'm taking my drop and I don't like it, and I'm quickly getting the ball to the check down for a 4-yard completion, but I'm keeping my team in front of the chains. Those are elite decisions, right? Getting your team in and out of the right plays, run pass options. Hey, single high defense, we're throwing it. Too high, here we go. Or here comes pressure over here, I'm going to slide my offensive line. That's elite quarterback play. You're putting your team in a great position to have success. And I think that's where a young quarterback can take a huge step in year 2.
Olin, outside of that Texas game, and I know that's what everybody will focus on, but if you go through and you look at where Marcel really took the reins, this is the point outputs, 38, 44, 38, 43, and 31 in the bowl game where if Noah Thomas catches a ball that hits him in the face,
it's 38.
It's 38. So they're in the 40-point range outside of that Texas game with Marcel at quarterback. So, again, I'm with you, Stephen. Like, there's a lot of wait and see with Marcel. But if you want to be bullish on him, and I think that's what a lot of the national media are seeing, OB, is like, hey, you know, there was one hiccup there late, but everything else is pretty good.
Well, yeah, I think the thing on Marcel is you're expecting him, and we've talked about this, to take a step forward. And I think the biggest thing he has to do is get better at reading the defense, understanding who's the open guy. Against Auburn, they had a chance to win the game late, nail it down before it went into overtime. If they get a touchdown, they had to settle for a field goal. On 3 consecutive plays before they kicked the field goal, they had an open receiver for a touchdown. And all 3 times, he missed it. Not saying he threw an incomplete pass, saying he did not read the defense correctly. That comes. I'm gonna defer to Stephen, but I've been told, and I was much better in the 7th grade at quarterback than the 6th grade.
I knew he was going there. But I anticipated that. We could see it coming a million miles away.
But that comes with just experience.
Yeah, time in the saddle.
Does it not?
It does.
So I know Stephen was a better quarterback his second year as a starter than he was his first year as a starter. And that's why he became a 4th-round draft choice of the Dallas Cowboys, the same round in which Dak Prescott was taken, and has an undefeated record against the Philadelphia Eagles.
You'll appreciate this. Thinking of the Dallas Cowboys, my buddy up in Dallas, I said, hey, would you send me a football for my son? I want to give him a Cowboys football for newborn, whatever. I said, of course, man. So I get this box in and get home, and then I started opening up. There's all these footballs, right? These Dallas Cowboy footballs. I'm like, oh man, he's super kind to do that. And then I look at the bottom. My wife goes, what is that? Pull it out. It's his jockstrap. And he said, McGee, I'm always here to support you if you need anything. I was like, gosh, dang, man.
You signed it and sent it back?
He autographed it.
Oh, God.
And I was like, gosh,
all right,
the joke's never in with these guys.
More with Stephen McGee and Olin Buchanan. You're listening to TexAgs Live. We might have a little special treat for you on the other side of the break. More from TexAgs Live. When we return, we're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Hey everyone, David Nuno and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically, we start off the show in this section, and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are, like, say, a sports fan, and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
Texas A&M been on a recruiting heater, but they may have missed an elite prospect out of Deerfield, Illinois, a couple of years ago. Matthew Dawson, if you're joining us via YouTube, we're rolling some of this junior tape. Watch this guy.
Fill the alley, big fella.
Go get it.
Redirect. Bring the hat and get him on the ground, son.
There's some good stuff in here, okay? Look at him. Not scared. Stick your nose in. Attack the football.
Plays big. Plays big.
No, he does. Looking to jar the ball loose, like playmaker instincts, right?
Moved him to corner on this one?
Yeah, look at this.
Wow, versatile. Cover two.
See the screen, fight the block off.
Wow.
Short of the sticks. Last one here, Nick. Look at this.
Number 6.
Like Devon A-Chain.
Look at this. Alley.
Oh, Alley.
Don't want to
Punch
stand.
That's Donovan
finish.
Wilson. That's Donovan Wilson right there.
That is Donovan
Finish.
Wilson.
Thank you for that.
Did we miss the calling?
Number 6 and everything.
5'4", 130 pounds.
It's mini Donovan Wilson.
He's probably like, Coach, look, on this coverage, we got to go to 4 because calculation-wise, the geometric mean to get there in time on a slow-go route is actually 2.15 seconds, not 2.07 seconds, Coach.
Great stuff. Dawson, I appreciate you
Baller.
being a good sport, dude.
I'll admit it's It's not beautiful, that film. Actually, that was my junior year. I only played because someone got hurt. And then going into my senior year.
So did McGee.
They were like, oh, we're doing like a captain spotlight.
What a great story.
What a great story. So like they did like a captain spotlight. Like, oh,
that's how
awesome.
Lou
They usually
Gehrig
make
played.
like a highlight tape or whatever. If you look in that tape, there's like a play where like I don't even do anything in it. Like I just accidentally put it in there. Like there's like nothing good in there at all. But
there's also
good to me.
Who was the first round pick that you played against in high school?
not a first round pick, but Riley Mills and Kai Kroger for the punter for South Carolina.
So Riley Mills, no, but Riley Mills,
Notre Dame defensive lineman.
Defensive lineman for Notre Dame.
So he's got a picture of the coin toss. He's a captain his senior year, and he's standing across from Riley Mills. It is one of the best photos that anybody has ever taken.
It's like standing next to Michael Clemens.
It's like Shaq and Simone Biles.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was 6'6", 270 versus 5'4".
David and Goliath, brother.
David and Goliath.
Who won the game?
Who do you think?
Exactly.
David.
Also,
throw that rock in that sling, brother.
Want to hear the biggest coaching malpractice of all time? So their offensive coordinator is Big Cat Williams, Chicago Bears legend. But Riley Mills wore the number 99 because he could be eligible. Like in Illinois football, I don't know if it's like that in Texas. Like you have your eligible numbers, your ineligible numbers. Right. 99 happens to be an eligible number in Illinois high school football, so that's what he wore. So he played tight end sometimes. Mm-hmm. We ran a base cover 3 where I'm like the free safety. So like he's the first threat, like downfield. Like so I have to cover him if he goes downfield. They didn't throw a single ball to him at all the whole game.
They're scared.
Locked up. Scared.
Yeah, they were scared.
Island.
At no point said we can't run him down the field. There's a headhunter back there.
You don't want to challenge Austin Dawson.
It was like how he was 15 inches taller than me and 120 pounds bigger, and they did not throw him the ball a single time.
Man's a tiger on the back end.
It's the biggest coaching malpractice I've ever seen.
Try to steer this back. We had about a minute and a half left, Stephen. Want to try to tie some recruiting. I know you don't follow it day to day, but A&M quarterback commit Helaman Kasuga is at the Elite 11, one day 2 MVP. What I'm going to ask you is not about his performance, but how much stock, now that this has become so commonplace, these kind of shorts and T-shirts, throwing sessions.
OB, what am I going to say? What am I going to say, OB? OB can actually probably answer this question for me in my response.
Go ahead. What do you think of that stuff?
Well, what's the question?
Like how much stock do you put into these camp performances?
Not a lot, because if you can't look good throwing the ball in your shorts and T-shirt, nobody tackling you and pressuring you.
You think Major Applewhite would have done well in the Elite 11 summer camp?
I think he'd have done okay, but I don't know what they're looking for. If you're looking for a guy that's going to throw a rocket arm, throw the ball 70 yards, no.
Yeah. You know, I don't like this Elite 11 now. It's like these kids are out there with their glasses on, and they're just kind of casually dropping. It's just not real football at all. I love to see guys get it done under the lights.
All
against the Eagles.
When we come back, Olin, stick around for one more segment. Thank you, Stephen. More TexAgs Live presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. 9 o'clock hour upcoming. McGee's sticking around for one more segment. And listen, there are like hot button topics in this office. And we talked about one with Olin. You want to get Olin going, you talk about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys and kind of where he fits, their schedule, the whole thing. This one over here, you mention betting, sports betting, and it is immediately red face.
He's like that episode of the Flintstones, Fred going, bet.
What are we betting on this year, Dawson? Like, what is your off season? Like, hey, I'm going into college football, and I'm betting on this.
That's a good topic because I wanted to talk about A&M's schedule.
Let's bet on Dawson's height. I'm going to put the under-over at 5'4". Which one are you taking?
I'm taking the over.
Over.
Oh, it pushed. The line over here.
That's why you never gamble, because we both lost money. The house just won.
No, you got your money back.
So what is the line on A&M's win-loss record?
I think it's at 7.5, but it's juiced like way to the over. So like you'd have to bet $1 to win like 55 cents, basically.
To win
for every dollar you bet,
I'm telling
you have to win.
What if you take the over? So meaning if I think A&M's going to win 8 or more, I'm going to get paid 55 cents on a dollar.
Yeah.
Bet 100.
But what if I bet the under?
You're probably getting paid $1.30 for every dollar you bet if it hits.
Where are you betting right now?
Over. I think this is going to be a good football team.
I hope so. I think the most bullish thing about this football team is that no one's talking about them.
Look.
That's a bunch of bullish.
But running the football.
Bullish.
What?
Running the football against this schedule, like they can do it. To me, at LSU and at Notre Dame in the first half of the season, before the second open date, like to me, that will be the biggest issues running the football. All the other ones, you can I'm very confident they're going to move the football on the ground, and they can do it. And when you can do that in this league and control the tempo, like they did against Florida last year in the swamp, it's just tough. And I believe, OB, that the defense is going to be better.
Well, I've said this before. I can see reasons to believe that. But I have to pretend I'm from Missouri right now and say, now I'm at a point where you got to show me.
Sure.
But I can see reasons to believe that.
I don't think past this is Texas 8-4. That's the joke right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you just want to waller in that, that's fine. You're certainly entitled to your opinion. But I'm trying to look at this football team in the schedule and go, here are reasons why I think they can break through. And I think I would start with the running game being one of the best in the country, or it should. If it's not, they got problems.
Dawson, what's Le'Veon Moss's over/under on total yards this year?
They don't have that, but maybe at some point. I don't know. They don't do like a lot of college football season stat totals like that.
Because you never know who's going to get hurt, right? He's well over 1,000 yards last year if he doesn't get hurt.
I think it's just like harder for Vegas to model that kind of stuff, so they don't want that kind of risk, They
don't want that kind of. Well, they could always transfer right now too.
That's also
not
true.
now.
It's too late.
Too late.
Good. So Le'Veon Moss is going to be an Aggie. That's great news. We can at least take that into the season. I agree with you. The bullish case offensively, offensive line back. You have 3 really good running backs back, and you've got a quarterback that can use his legs as well. There's a lot there. I mean, we should have no issues running the football. I think the question is
especially if the tight ends they brought in can make impacts on the line of scrimmage.
And especially if Casey Concepcion can make a defense say, hey, maybe we want to at least keep one safety back a little bit further.
I agree. That's the question mark for me right now is what kind of threat do we have on the outside? Can we create any bit of consistent separation?
It's definitely a different looking wide receiver room.
Yeah.
In terms of body stature, just physical on the eyeball test, it looks different, but they also play different. Whereas like last year with Noah and Jade, to me, they were more vertical, win 50-50 balls. They didn't separate. And that was an issue that you talked about all year.
Yeah, I like burst more than I like size.
Right. And so I think this wide receiver group with Holman Wiggins definitely is going to feature more change of direction, without question.
Yeah, that's going to be big. It's the ability to separate in and out of those cuts. I think it's obviously straight ahead speed, taking the top off coverage, very important. We talked a lot about that. Speed. Look at Texas. All the success they've had in the last couple of years. They've had an incredible amount of speed on the outside. You can't coach speed. And so having that, but then the ability, even for a guy that's not fast, think about Peter Work is always a guy that comes to mind for me, Florida State. Incredibly talented guy, made a lot of explosive plays, but ran a 4.640. It's his ability to get in and out of cuts and separate, you know. Nia Smith is another guy that I think about.
Julian Edelman made a career out of it, right?
Exactly. So you can, without having straight ahead speed, you can still be a very explosive, dynamic player. It's your ability to understand leverage in route concepts and then get in and out of those cuts quickly to separate from a DB. It's an art. I mean, that's why those guys have 10, 15-year careers. Jason Witten was slow, but he could get open because he was smart and he understood leverage. So it's all about outside.
Can the law almost had because we were talking about, you mentioned Texas for a minute ago. I was thinking about, can the Aggies get 4th and 1?
Again, if with this roster, you better. You better.
Same roster as last year.
Yeah. Except for.
And in the spring game this year.
Well, except for Le'Veon Moss.
Yeah.
Which is, that's where it's highlighted against the Longhorns was the 4th yardage stops.
Yeah.
And look, Amari Daniels, I think he'll be really good as a senior, like for his role. He ain't Le'Veon, right? And you talk about they got 3 good running backs. Well, they returned all 4 from last year. E.J. Smith, Ruben Owens, Le'Veon, Amari Daniels. Let me tell you something that Trooper Taylor and that staff are really, really excited about these 2 freshmen.
I've heard that.
Really excited. The kid from Memphis, kid from DeSoto. I think if you ask Trooper Taylor, a guy who's been doing it a long time, he'd tell you this is the best running back room he's ever had.
But they need an offensive line that can say it's 4th and 1, and even if you know where the ball is going, we're going to get it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. That's a mentality.
Yeah,
that's an attitude more than it is scheme or talent. 4th and 1, hat on hat, man on man. Let's do this.
So, in your mind, though, like for offensive success, well, I started all this conversation by bringing up the quarterbacks around the league. Like Marcel has enough on tape where we kind of know, we know more about him, and there's these guys that are getting a ton of love that have no tape in this league or no tape at all,
which is perfect. Let's love that moment for a second as an Aggie fan. That's so. Yeah. I mean, we could view that as a slight. I view that as the greatest advantage of sports is that I'm a quarterback that's played most of a year as a starter, had good success, had some really great moments. Think about Florida game, others along the way.
Yeah.
But dude, the first drive of Bowling Green was, in my opinion, the best I saw him play. I mean, just quick, decisive, throwing the ball all over the place, looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate. Put all those moments in there, and they're saying, hey, this kid who's never even started a game is better than you are day one. Yeah. I hope that is viewed as a slight to Marcel. I hope he uses that as a chip on his shoulder. I hate preseason lists. They don't matter. These are all just projections, right? Nobody knows, ultimately. All that matters is where you are at the end of the year with your football team and a win-loss record. I don't care who wins the Heisman, who gets first team All-SEC. That stuff doesn't matter. The definition for Marcel's success is going to be how good this football team is. And I firmly believe this, that if Marcel Reed plays at a high level, we will have a good football team. If Marcel is average, I firmly believe that we will be a very average football team.
Define high level in your mind for Marcel.
I think limiting the turnovers, but I think for him it's going to be
6 interceptions or less.
Yes, but I think
it's hard to put a hard number on that right now.
Depends on how many attempts he's going to get too. Like
I just wonder what.
Yeah, like 4 or 5. To me, it's not about the interceptions that he does throw. Have to be. It's going to happen, right? It's like, hey, that was a good throw. Kid, receiver dropped it, tipped it. Wasn't on him. Those type of things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have that level. It's the bad ones that really crush a football team. But for me, it's the consistent productivity, right? So for me, a great year for Marcel is not having a game where he throws for 300 and the next one he throws for 98 yards, right? It's the consistency. Every week, he's completing and making easy plays. He's not missing open guys.
I like that description better because I don't think, again, I'm a different opinion of you, and I fully concede that you know way more about this than I do, but I look at this team and go, they can run the football. They don't have, he doesn't have to be elite. But if he can just make the good decisions.
I think it's the consistency of his play. It's
hard to make his layups.
Make his layups. I'm not saying that he's going to throw for 4,000 yards. That's not elite. To me, it's, we're going to run the football, but we'd all know that we're going to have to throw it a considerable amount we can't just line up and run it for 300 yards every game.
Short side option 36 times.
Yes, that unfortunately is not going to happen well. So how do we gauge that? Well, to me, it's just this, you can't ride a roller coaster at quarterback. It has to be a very Tom Brady-like consistency of play. And obviously, he's going to be able to impose his legs on the game, and it's hard to quantify that. But number one, I don't want to see my quarterback taking sacks. Like, that is a huge negative for me. This turnovers, we've discussed that. But then I think it's just about getting the ball out of his hands and playing fast and aggressively taking what the defense gives you. You're sitting there and you're thinking, well, what does that even mean? Well, it's not forcing the post route because coach called, X post dagger, and you're like, well, that's my number one read. Yeah, just because that's the number one read doesn't mean that's where the ball's going. I got to be very content hitting the check down consistently on time. And you know what? You just made this point. How good are we at running back? Could be the best. Well, all the more reason to check it down. And we've seen our running backs do this time and time again. They make a guy miss. That linebacker's hauling butt out there to try to cover this guy in the flat, and he puts on the brakes, makes a guy miss, and it's a 15-yard gain. Mm-hmm. Good things can still happen when you take that conservative throw. Fans don't love it, right? They want to see you chunk it down the field. Yeah. But offensive coordinators love it because you're not taking sacks and you're keeping your football team in front of the chains. That's good quarterback play to me.
Is there another quarterback in the league that you are really bullish on?
In the SEC or the NFL?
In the SEC.
He likes Nussmeier.
I love Nussmeier. Other than the turnovers.
Yeah, he runs so hot and cold. Now, he can absolutely win you a game, and especially at home. His home and road splits were pretty wild, where he was going on the road and he was throwing it to the other team constantly. He wasn't doing that in Baton Rouge. And when he gets going, he can really spin it. But, man, there's just some boneheadedness to me in there.
I agree. He's got to do better. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think some of the throws that I've seen him make are as good as any of the quarterbacks that I've seen make, throw-wise, talent-wise. The accuracy, the anticipation that he plays the game with, you could tell his dad was an NFL coach. Like, that's undeniable. The quarterbacks where I'm going to struggle more with, that get a lot of praise right now, like Lenore's Sellers.
That's who the SEC group, that was the podcast I was watching yesterday. Yeah. They took Lenore Sellers first.
Oh, no problem with that.
I don't, because of what he does and their offense.
Different. If I was the offensive coordinator or if I'm an NFL team, he's not the kid I would draft. But that doesn't mean I'm right. Or they're like the Eagles would probably be more inclined to him over Nussmeier, right? It's just not for me. What I believe success is built on the quarterback. Doesn't mean I'm right. Arch Manning, a lot to prove. The Florida kid, Lagway, a lot to prove, but have shown very high upsides. But it's hard for me to sit here today without seeing it under the lights against good teams of saying, hey, I want to anoint this guy the best in the conference.
Well, the craziest thing to me.
Nussmeier, what he has, he's good. He has a Kyle Allen quality about him that in a big game starts throwing interceptions, but he's good. And what he has really going for him is what quarterback did you mention has better receivers than he does?
Yeah, but he's going to have offensive line issues.
He could. That's right.
They're replacing both tackles and a guard.
If you're going to have offensive line issues.
Both tackles and two guards.
Two guards, yep.
Who do you want, though? If you have offensive line issues, what kind of quarterback do you want?
I want
a quarterback that knows how to not take sacks. If Peyton Manning was the quarterback of the LSU Tigers with that offensive line, I promise you would see that offensive line play at a level and you would think that they were way better than they actually were because he would not take sacks. He would know, hey, I always have this outlet. If I get quick pressure.
That? Because you saw him melt down under pressure against A&M.
Yes, he did. And that's what's beautiful about pressure. When you get around the quarterback, I get it. And I'm not trying to say that Nussmeier is an elite, all-world quarterback. I love, his throw talent is elite, in my opinion. I love what he can do throwing the football. And I love quarterbacks that throw the football. I'm just saying I love veteran quarterbacks that have time in a system that know
that's true.
Where they have outlets and they don't take sacks. To me, the most under-talked about stat for quarterbacks is how many sacks they take. How long they hold on the football.
Listen, I think Garrett Nussmeier could have, New York Heisman invitee type of season. I really do. But I also know
because of what OB said. I think that's the bullish case for them is that wide receiver room has some speed.
Now, and if you want to pick Lenore Sellers or Garrett Nussmeier 1 and 2 and you're ranking quarterbacks in the league, totally fine with that. The issue that I had with the list that I was listening to yesterday, the number 2 quarterback they picked, John Mateer in Oklahoma. And I'm going, just because Cam Ward left Washington State and had success in the ACC.
I love it. I'll be honest with you. I love that. I love that they're anointing some kid at a different school. That's Oklahoma's problem. That's not our problem. This guy's riding high right now. He's riding the highs of being the quarterback, the hot transfer kid, probably got paid a lot of money, and there's a lot of pressure there. And we saw that schedule last week. That's brutal. That's a hard hype to live up to. And you know what's going to happen. The minute they start losing, they're going to start bagging on that kid. So enjoy the highs because quarterbacks and head coaches know this better than anybody. When things go bad, they're going to get all the blame.
Hey,
you're going to see that ship sail.
They have Brent Venables is hottest seat in the conference. Sam Pittman,
Florida.
Yeah.
And where's Taylor
Mark
Green?
Stoops.
Mark Stoops.
Taylor Green.
No, not Mark Stoops. What's the expectation at Kentucky?
Well, they've won 10 games before.
Okay, but he's done
and
it.
not only that, have they been underperforming, but he's also walking around. And I don't know what any of their bias is, but he's also walking around with that cloud that says, "Oh, you had taken the A&M job, you were ready to go, and we know this. So if you don't."
But I think Brent Venables and Sam Pittman.
Brent Venables is way up
Yeah,
there.
way hotter. And then Taylor Green though.
He's a good quarterback.
You don't like him?
I don't like him.
Not bullish on Taylor Green.
I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's not great,
But he's been around a while, athletic kid.
I don't want him over Marcel.
Oh, I like that. I agree.
I think Marcel definitely has a higher upside.
Yeah.
Where's Diego Pavia?
Diego Pavia, lower upside. He's like the major Applewhite of the
Yeah,
SEC.
I think he
He's a
reminds
winner.
me of that TCU quarterback a couple of years ago.
Max Duggan.
Yeah.
Kind of, just that kind of
This
guy.
guy.
Of course, he would know.
There he
Heisman
is.
finalist.
He got a little quiet. There's that safety filling in.
Listen to this. Who's the head football coach at Bowling Green?
Eddie George.
Who's the head football coach?
Eddie George, the Heisman winner.
Yeah.
Is that Bowling
in
Green?
it.
I didn't know that.
He actually took the job at Tennessee. What is it? Tennessee State. Where,
Tennessee State, Nashville.
where Rod Reed was coaching before.
Who's the head football coach at Eastern Michigan?
Chris Creighton.
Dude, it's crazy.
Unbelievable.
All right, when
Fresno State.
we come back, we're going to the
Bad
hardwood
ends.
with Logan Lee. Gonna talk
Where's
some
Eastern
buckyball.
Michigan
This
located?
is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's
San
Jewelers.
Jose State.
All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live on a Thursday morning. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers inside the Rollo Insurance Studios. I'm Ryan Brauninger in the host chair today and tomorrow. I believe Nick and Zane are hosting on Monday, and then David will be back. For you Nuno fans, he will be back on Tuesday. Don't forget, if you want to interact with the show, 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150, call or text. Put Matthew Dawson to work over there in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. With that, we go out to the Buppy's Catering Hotline to talk to great friend of the program, former TexAgs employee until we had to fire him for not being as good looking as me, Logan Lee. What's up, dude?
Ron, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me? Logan. Hello, Logan. Well,
we'll send him a Zoom link.
On-air production meeting. That's why you have the best producer in the game back there.
Have to.
On the sticks.
You need it.
Sometimes, we all love Cade Bickham. He can get a little bit nervy when things don't go right. Not this savage guy.
I've never seen Cade not come through, though.
No, he always
comes through.
He's a big-time figure it out, right?
Oh, yeah, he's got the gene.
He does. But Nick Savage has a figure it out gene, but it's like cool, calm, and collected. What do they say? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
I've never heard that. I don't know if I've never heard that saying before. No.
We use that in baseball, like with the infielders. So they try to play too fast. They're like, no, hey, slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
We always said fast, slow, fast.
Get
to the ball, then you're slow, and then you're fast again.
Yeah, fast, slow, fast. That's the tempo with your feet.
Yeah.
But I've found in coaching kids, a lot of times you're dealing with heart rate more than you are any type of movement in their body. Like you're trying to slow heart rate down as much as you can.
True.
And then try to slow their body down. Nick, will you let me know? Because I am wearing my headphones. I usually do not. Nick was having to text me to get that Matthew Dawson tape set up because I don't have my headphones in. He could not communicate with me directly. But I'm glad we did that. That was the most fun we've had all morning on what's been a fun show, I think, this Thursday morning. And now, Dawson, I think because you are a Doomsday prepper and you knew Doomsday was coming with a B-team version of TexAgs Live, you have some questions maybe? We can kill some time until we get Logan back?
Yeah, sure. But I do want to mention, Kurt Enron in the chat said a while ago, he had a question for you. He said, do you have a girth certificate?
I hope Olin's not listening anymore.
He's not listening, but he would have loved that.
Hey, we also, Nick, I think you were working on some very fancy baseball portal graphics. Do you have those ready?
I do, yeah. Who would you like to see?
Well, we can start. I mean, just kind of roll through them. So they're at 4 commitments now out of the portal. I'm just telling you, they are at the finish line with one of their bigger targets. It's just about getting it and pushing the ball. That final one big, I guess, heave to get it over the line. That's where they're at. And teams are coming in to try to keep them from getting to the finish line, most notably our friends over in Austin. But the Aggies added Ethan Darden. I believe that was yesterday. That was one that had been in the coffer for a little bit and went public yesterday, left-handed pitcher out of Clemson. They also added left-handed pitcher Preston Prince out of Rutgers. This is a kid that is a bet. It's like a low-risk, high-reward type of thing. He throws the ball kind of all over the place, but when he throws it in the strike zone, it does not get hit. It will probably be as big of an arm talent as they've got on the roster. The fastball will be 97, 98 from the left side. He's a big, giant dude. This is one interesting about him, Dawson, is from what I understand, A&M has done such a good job, and I think you have to now with the portal. Oh, we got Logan. Okay, let's come back to that because I want to highlight some of the analytic stuff that they found with Preston Prince. All right, we're going out to the hotline real quick. I do want to talk to Logan Lee because on that Mike Elko coaching circuit, conversation circuit across the state, Bucky McMillan joined Coach Elko in Dallas last night, talked about kind of the preliminary workouts for this squad that he's put together. Logan, how much were you able to listen to what Bucky said, and then how much do you know about just the difference in what he's putting these players through compared to the previous coaching regime?
It's completely different, Bronny. Man, I got to watch practice for the first time the other day. Unfortunately, I haven't been in there as much as I wish I could be right now, but they are moving and shaking. Every drill that they do is finished with a sprint to half court. Whether that is offense or defense, you're getting back or you're pushing the ball. Everything that they do is fast paced, full speed. Get to the other side of the floor as fast as you can because that's the pace that they want to move at. I'm extremely excited about it. It's something that I've never played in. It's something that A&M hasn't seen before, and I think people are going to be pretty enthusiastic when they see the product on the court.
Well, and one of the things that Bucky said last night was he was just trying to get the guys used to, obviously, the pace they want to play and practice at, and I think you just spoke to that. But they also want to get them used to the volume of three-point shooting that they are going to be asked to do. So in your estimation, from being able to watch practice, can you kind of verbalize and describe what you saw at practice that made you go, what they are good? Like, this is even more threes than I thought they were going to shoot.
Brauninger. I don't think anybody understands when Bucky says he wants to play fast and shoot threes. Like, that's an understatement. They had every drill, no matter if you were a guard, a wing, a big, whatever, you're taking threes. And you were shooting threes and you were getting back. They had a one-on-one. It was basically from half court. You play one-on-one. A three is worth a three. A layup is worth two. Anything in between a three and literally, he said, if you shoot the ball inside the charge circle, the arc, that's worth two. If you shoot it outside the arc, it's only worth one. And you're a three is worth three. A layup or a dunk is worth two. Any mid range, that's only worth one. We want to get to the basket or we want to shoot threes. And you talked about how coaches view these analytics and how they coach on analytics, and that's what this is. A three is a three, a layup is a two, mid-range is a one, and whoever loses, you're running, and you're running hard. And so no one is taking mid-range because they don't want a one-pointer. They want twos or threes.
How is this roster, like the versatility of these guys that he signed, when you look like at the Spanish kid or Mbako, like these long guys with some athletic ability, like, is that now when you see it in action, does the roster really start to make sense in how he's constructed it?
To some degree, yes. The reason I have a little hesitation in there is because I think this team is small in comparison to the SEC. They're super athletic. They are super talented, but they just don't have the size and the strength in the guard positions that I think that they're going to need to actually truly see Bucky ball. Jakari Lane, one of the quickest guys I've seen in a long time. He can get to the bucket and he can make some things happen. Marcus Hill, while he is not what NC State listed him at what I think 6'4", he's probably more like 6'1", and that's a big difference. But you add guys like Mbako, you add guys like Fetty from Texas Tech, Zach Clements from Kansas, Jamie Vincent from Texas. That's true size and length. However, those guys are skinny as well, and so they're going to have to utilize their speed and quickness, especially on the defensive end, to really be productive. And I think that's my hesitation right now is they're probably going to need some more size moving into the future and getting to where they want to be. But for him only being here, 60 days now, a little more than 60 days. This is a roster I never would have thought they would have been able to put together, and they've done it in a short amount of time. And I think they will be I think they'll be a middle of the pack SEC team next season, which is way better than what I thought they were going to be coming into it.
Last thing, real quick before we let you get out of here, Logan, after watching practice and seeing these kids move around, it sounds like to me when you're talking about it, like you think this team's at least good enough to make the upper echelon teams in this league really uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And you know, speed kills. Everybody says that. They're going to play fast and they're going to be conditioned. You know, Alabama didn't have to be the biggest team on the court because of the way they played. They shot threes, they got up and down both on offense and defense, and that's what this A&M team is going to do as well. So while they are lacking some size, they're going to make some teams uncomfortable just in the manner in which they play, because they're going to be so much better conditioned than everybody else.
Logan, I appreciate you hopping on with me today, dude.
Yeah, man. Sorry about the not being in studio and the phone issues.
No, it's okay. You have a real job as well.
All right. We'll talk later.
All right, man. That's Logan Lee, former TexAgs basketball analyst, and now I guess purveyor and watcher of Buckyball, as close as anybody. So that was good insight there from Logan. We come back, Aaron Torres back on the hotline. We'll get his take on some college basketball stuff, college football, maybe house settlement. Aaron Torres covers a lot on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live on a Thursday morning. Let's go back out to the Buppies Catering Hotline. Talk to great friend of the program, Mr. Aaron Torres. Keeps us up to date on all things college football, college basketball, and AT. I appreciate your time. I understand that you're busy this morning. Thanks for joining on and hopping on for just a quick second with us today. Let's start with this. Your just initial take to the House settlement and the fallout. Did this rein it in, or did it just open Pandora's box even further?
First of all, Brownie, love speaking with you. Hope you can hear me. Here you've had some technical issues. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Oh, perfect. Okay, Brownie. Well, first of all, great to hear you. Great to speak with you. I talked to Nuno a little bit about this last week. I guess I'm just dubious that anything is really going to change. I don't think you can put a cap on what people can earn through their literal name, image, likeness, and whatever school it is. If a business owner determines that a basketball player or a quarterback or an offensive tackle is worth more to their business or their school than than somebody else. I mean, I don't know how Deloitte can put a cap on that. So I'll be curious. It's only going to take one deal that gets refused by Deloitte for the whole system to crumble. So maybe they just never refuse a deal. And if that's the case, then I don't even know why we have them in to begin with. But I think, like a lot of people, I'm just mostly curious how it all plays out. But I don't think – I'll just be quick because I'm going long here. Texas reportedly spent $40 million on their football roster. Basketball rosters, good ones are in the $10, $12 million range. I don't know how you can now rein that in to a third or a quarter of that in a year after players are now seeing what their market value is.
Yeah, when you take into account and you look at trying to put the toothpaste back into the tube, it makes you long for the days of these under-the-table deals where you knew it was happening, the $100 handshakes and stuff. But, man, it was simpler times, AT.
Oh, it was much simpler times. $100 handshake compared to what guys are getting now. By the way, Bronny, did you see the LSU Arkansas game last night?
Oh, believe me, you know me. I'm the baseball guy, and I love baseball, and I watch college baseball. It's my favorite sport. We broke that down for 30 whole minutes. It was one of the bigger meltdowns that I've ever seen. And unfortunately for Arkansas, if you're a Razorback fan, Charles Schwab Field's kind of been a house of horrors.
Yeah, it's funny. I know I don't think it's a debate Arkansas fans want to get in. I understand they were one out away from a championship in 2018 on a drop-off flight. But when you have two relatively rudimentary plays to end the game, and then the game-winning hit was a play that could have been made that would have forced extra innings. It was about as big of a collapse as I've ever seen. Hey, and again, for any go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I think the play that gets lost in the shuffle here is how the inning started with just a crazy decision by the first baseman to range so far to his right to field that ball, and then he throws it behind the pitcher covering. So LSU gets their inning started with one out on just another pretty routine play that the decision-making of Arkansas was really highlighted in that inning. It was hard to fathom, AT.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I always joke about being a college baseball guy this time of year. I don't follow the sport. I watch for a couple weeks in May and June, but I bring it up because Phil Elson, who's the Arkansas play-by-play guy, has become a good friend of mine. And what's crazy to me is that, Arkansas is really known for the fundamentals, basically not beating themselves. It's like, I'm trying to think of like a Jay Wright Villanova basketball team that doesn't beat themselves, a Nick Saban football team that doesn't get penalties, getting a bunch of penalties at the worst possible time. I mean, again, I know that you were one out, not you being a Texas A&M fan, but Arkansas being one out away from a championship. It's hard to say there's a bigger meltdown than that. But when you talk about everything that went wrong, by the way, I thought you were going to say when you say the play that gets lost in it, very routine grounder to set up a game-ending double play with their slowest runner coming out of the box. I mean, it was surreal. And I think, again, Arkansas having that reputation of not beating themselves only adds to it. Yeah,
and it was Vahiva Aloy, of all people, that made that decision, a surefire first-rounder, maybe the Golden Spikes Award winner if you've watched any Arkansas baseball at all this season, you know that if Dave Van Horn sitting in that dugout and going, if I could pick one person to have this ground ball hit at in this moment for us to turn a double play and end the game, I want it hit at my All-American shortstop, and he made that decision. It's just head-scratching doesn't even begin to describe it. But, hey, I do want to kind of switch things up. I want to talk football because I want to get your take on something we had a very spirited back and forth about a little bit earlier about just kind of SEC quarterbacks. And Jake Crane, who I love his work, he put out his quarterback rankings. He did essentially a quarterback draft on his podcast yesterday, or at least I watched it yesterday. They had John Mateer at Oklahoma as their second quarterback picked after Lenoris Sellers at 1. Just want to, where are you at, Aaron, on the top of the league in the SEC quarterbacks? Because I think you can make an argument for 3 or 4, but I didn't think you could make that argument for John Mateer, at least not yet.
I think it's fascinating because, one thing, Nuno and I talked a few weeks ago about Arch, and it's not that I'm not an Arch guy. It's just that I think there's going to be a lot of Sunday people that turn on Texas expecting Arch to look like the number 1 overall pick. And I'm not ready to say that I have seen enough in 2 starts against Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State to say that I believe that that's the case. So Arch is kind of an interesting thing in his own right. I'll be real, Bronny. I don't get the Garrett Nussmeier hype. I really don't.
Wow.
I mean, I was telling somebody this I was telling this to somebody the other day. Like, there is a tweet that you can find of mine during the time in which we thought that Bryce Underwood was going to LSU, where I basically said, I think it was during the Florida game last year, like, the day I don't have to watch Garrett Nussmeier play quarterback anymore is going to be a great day or something like that. And so I just bring it up because, like, this number 1 overall pick stuff, I don't get it. Now, in his defense, the run game wasn't great last year. The interior O-line, I know Will Campbell was a first-round pick, but the interior O-line really struggled. But I don't get the Garrett Nussmeier stuff. So, the good thing about Nussmeier is I'm either going to be proven right or definitely very wrong in week 1 when they go to Clemson. But I think there's as much question at the top with the quarterbacks as anybody. And, you mentioned John Mateer. I'll take it in another direction. I mean, I think Jackson Arnold got a little bit of a raw deal last year at Oklahoma behind an entirely new offensive line. His whole wide receiver core is banged up. And it's like, if he's half as good as we thought he was going to be coming out of high school, and you might be the guy to ask about him because I know he was a Texas guy, him and Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson and Singleton, it's like that all of a sudden could go from a 5-win team to an 8-9 win team. So I think it's fascinating, and I know it's a cliche talking point here in June, but I do think this league is totally wide open, and I think it is in large part because there's so much unknown at quarterback. Somebody's going to emerge. It's just, is it Arch? Is it Nussmeier? Is it Gunnar Stockton? On and on down the list.
Is it Marcel Reed? AT, I thank you for your time. I know you were a busy traveling man this morning. Thanks for jumping on. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, my brother. Thank you. And, we'll be talking soon. Thank you. Love you, Bronny.
How about that? Don't say it back. Don't say it back. Aaron Torres, always appreciate his time. And really, he had to fit us in this morning with a busy schedule. When we come back, we'll close the 9 o'clock hour and get us ready for the fan show. Maybe we can finally get to some of those analytics we were talking about, Dawson, on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy weekend, I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals that make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them, 979-217-1561. Again,
It's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables.
All right, just a couple minutes left before we switch it over to the 10 o'clock hour here on TexAgs Live Thursday morning edition, B-Team edition. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Ryan Brauninger in the host chair inside the Rollo Insurance Studios. Dawson, I want to get back while we have just a couple of minutes here to the baseball talk, and we were going through Preston Prince, the left-handed pitcher they added from Rutgers. And what I was going to highlight more so than just his ability is I think in today's transfer portal world that you live in, and especially with baseball when it's condensed from the calendar is so condensed, you have basically no time. You have a month to figure out who's in, who I need to make decisions on, who can play here, who can help us, and it's not always just the raw numbers, because then you start looking at scalability, right? Like even these guys have these great years at these lower conferences. So in order for your staff to go through all of that efficiently, you will appreciate this. You better come up with some sort of algorithm and formula that can cut through all of that and just spit out one number, right? And I understand A&M and a lot of other schools are using AI to help that. So a guy can go into the portal, they can plug Matthew Dawson's name into their algorithm and AI, and it can spit out like a red, yellow, or green. And what they found with Preston Prince is even though the raw stats, like what you can look at on paper, ERA, strike ball ratio, all this stuff, even some of those were like, I don't know. There were a lot of questions about that. What they found was there's stuff in the analytics and metrics that gave us a green number. And so A&M, it was low risk, like I said, low risk, high reward. But they rolled the dice there, and a lot of it had to do with like what their analytics were able to find. I thought you'd appreciate that.
No, absolutely. And we've had this conversation, like velocity in the SEC matters a lot. You know, you get a guy that's flaming 98, you know.
And there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
And that's one thing that I thought the A&M pitching staff last year, the baseball term is they couldn't bust a grape. But I'm not trying to demean those kids. What I'm saying is they just didn't have the raw arm talent as their peers in the league. And I think they had the lowest fastball velocity of any program in the league. And I think they need to improve that. And they still pitch good. Like they pitched pretty stinking good given those metrics that they were working inside of. So adding a guy like Prince should help their overall arm talent and their profile. All right, we come back. Fan Show on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live. It's everybody's favorite hour of the radio week in Bryan College Station because I'm in the host chair. No, I'm just kidding. Ryan Brauninger, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It's the Fan Show.
Fan Show.
Matt Browning, Royce Hickman here with us today. We kicked Roy May out of here for Royce Hickman.
Yeah.
More wise, smarter, better looking. Royce, welcome in.
Brought in the big gun. We got rid of Roy and the old curmudgeon he is. So.
Of course, Roy would have probably been a good guest to have on, given the geopolitical things happening right now. I bet Roy would have been able to give us some insight.
He's got an opinion on it, I guarantee you.
I promise
That's
you.
right,
So.
and willing to express it too.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's why we had you guys in here for an hour, because you're willing to express your opinions, and it's the summertime, and there's not. We just had a content meeting in this very studio on Tuesday, and David Nuno says we have no sports going on.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
we got to come up with creative ways to fill, obviously, our content space. But as fans, you've got to come up with creative ways to fill your fan space. So
Sure.
I guess we'll start with you, Matt. Like, what is on your plate this summer? Is it all like, all right, counting down the days, pulling the calendar sheets off until we get to football?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, once we get here on the Aggie sports front, right now my main focus is obviously work, right? But when I'm thinking, anytime I can get a mental break, I'm thinking on Aggie football, and I have conversations every day. So especially because I do the show and everything else, that people we talk to out in my regular daily life, they're always, hey, what do you think about? What do you think about early coming back, or are we excited about buzzball, or how do you think the secondary is going to look?
They're not excited about buzzball, but buckyball.
Buckyball.
Boy, Freudian slip there.
Okay, but yes, all right, buckyball. All right, look, it's Buzz Bucky. Okay, it's it happens.
It's going to take some getting used to.
It's happened to everybody.
Yeah,
I guarantee everybody's done that at least once. But no, right now it's football. It's thinking, okay, we're what, 2.5 months, 2 months. No, 2.5 months roughly from football season, and everything is coming up.
2 months from camp.
Yeah, yeah. And then everybody's. I mean, and you're starting to see. You're on social media. They're bringing up power rankings, power indexes. We're looking at all that. ESPN predicts every record in the SEC, so you're starting to see that. So it's starting to build a little bit, and it'll build more as we get closer to the SEC media days and all that sort of thing. And so. As that builds, it'll be we'll just keep getting more excited, and then you also see the ramp up, and every one of us does it. You start down here, but now the closer we get, the better we're going to get at football this season. And so it's fun. This is it happens every year, and
there's nothing else to do but to listen to the talking heads talk.
Yep.
You have your opinion, and to me, this is. Obviously, the TexAgs message boards turn into like therapy sessions after losses. Mm-hmm. You look at Sunday morning after a football loss or after a baseball series loss. That's what the message boards have turned into, is like a therapy session for people to just get it all off their chest. But I think that message boards really exist for these types of moments, because there's nothing going on and everybody wants to talk about sports, but there's nothing for us to nothing new to talk about.
Well, everybody's waiting on you. From the recruiting side, So you've got the recruiting stuff that we're constantly waiting on.
I haven't even brought up that there's a 5-star commitment happening today that everybody will be monitoring at 1 o'clock. Brandon Arrington, 5-star corner out of California.
How's that looking?
It's got some maroon hue to it. Okay? It's down to A&M in Oregon.
Okay.
And those are his final 2 announced, and we feel good about where A&M's at. And if they do that, if they land this kid, it's a long way to signing day.
Oh, sure.
And the worst thing, like, you shouldn't really be definitive about a lot of things in life. Like, there's probably a lot more nuance, and you always want to get more information before you make a discernible opinion on things. But if they get this to the finish line, and you never want to be, this is how it's going to happen in recruiting because it's so fluid. But if they get this class to the finish line, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that have already started. I said on yesterday's show, I said, goalposts must be pretty light, because a lot of people are starting to move them pretty quick with this Mike Elko can't recruit stuff.
Well, I've seen stuff where they said that it's possible we could have everything from the number 1 class to at least the top 5 class if everything holds, and so that's the stuff this time of year,
what's carrying it.
Yeah. That's what's carrying it. We're thinking back on what the future holds with like we said, buckyball. and early coming back, and the guys that are returning on the baseball team, and then of course now we're looking forward to football, and of course all your commentary on recruiting and everything else. And so
Royce?
that's what I'm keeping up with.
Yeah, well, I very similar, but I would add that I do a lot of reflecting. You look back at what could have been, but also what did happen. And I got to talk about the men's track and field and the women's track and field.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible. And they're that close to having the thing all by themselves. But I'll take it. And you look at Pat Henry. I think that's the 9th national championship here, and he had 20-something at LSU, so 30-something national championship. I mean, that's incredible. What other coach has got that kind of a record?
Yeah, you got to put him down in terms of all sports in college history.
Yeah,
like amongst the greats. Right up there amongst the greats. To have that many 30-plus national championships in any sport is incredible.
Well, and the women had some outstanding performances, placed 3rd in the nation, and they had a freshman that placed well in not the decathlon. What is it for the women? I forgot now, but
the heptathlon.
Heptathlon, I think. Yeah, but I've enjoyed reflecting on that a little bit. I did some officiating with track and field, and got to spend some time with Coach Henry. And you spend very much time with him, and you'll realize why he's as good as he is.
I got to talk to him in the lobby before he came in yesterday, and he's really excited about the future of his program too. And it just doesn't look like even though he's been doing it a long time, he's still energized and motivated. It doesn't seem like he's ready to take a step back at all.
And he's the coach that I see. I promise you, out and about in town, I see Coach Henry more than any other coach. I mean, he's at HEB, and of course nobody bugs him. But he sat behind us at football. We had my brother had season tickets a few years back. He was right behind us. I see him. I see Coach Henry more than any other coach. It's pretty. Funny.
He's involved. He supports the whole university, but and he knows how to have athletes peak at the right time. He can have an important meet in the year, and if it's not a good time for that person to run, he won't run them. And every coach isn't like that. They're going to try to get the max out of every event instead of looking at the long term, and he's good at that. The other thing, I'm big into recruiting, and like you were talking about, and the recruiting front is really pretty good right now. You're talking about not only football, but you look at, what's Bucky's doing over there is amazing to me.
The roster he's been able to construct in a short period of time is, like, we had Logan Lee on, and Logan got to go watch practice, and Logan said, this team, like, I had no expectation because of when he was brought in and what he was up against, and especially when you throw the house settlement on top of it, you don't know what roster limits, scholarship limits are going to look like. So Logan had no expectation. He was like, this can be a middle of the SEC team, and if you're that, you're going to be playing in March, and you're going to have a chance to win games in March.
In season 1 with no roster to begin with. With no players.
No,
that's crazy.
That's incredible to come in and get off the thing. And didn't we sign like the number 1 volleyball commitment from the number 1 volleyball player in the country?
Yeah. It's been player acquisition season for a lot of sports across campus.
It's across the board. Softball just picked up a couple of players, and I hated the way the season ended because I have a lot of respect for her and what she's built over there, and that was a really good team, and it just not at the right time.
I'm telling you, Ellen and I were talking about this, and what spurred this conversation before the show, it was just kind of off air. But, for every sport, whether you're Mike Elko, Tricia Ford, Pat Henry, Mike Early, what you're trying to do is you're trying to construct a roster that can get you in the conversation, that can get you to Omaha, get you to Oklahoma City, get you into the playoff. I'm trying to construct a roster that can get me there. But once I get there, this postseason stuff is such a crapshoot.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. Like, you have to have luck go your way.
Right.
And you can have one bad weekend like Emily Kennedy did on the softball field, and they're done.
Yeah, like probably the worst in her whole career.
Right.
Here.
And you don't get to pick and choose when that happens.
No, and she has been so consistent, and you would never count on that.
Yeah.
And but for me, it doesn't take away the incredible job that Trish
I think
did this year.
Coach Ford's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you listen to her coming here.
Yep.
You just get to know her off the field, and she is really good, and she really cares about this place and being good. She cares about the other coaches on campus. Right. She asked me numerous times, "How's Coach Early doing? How's he handling all?" Like, just really invested in the whole thing. And I'm super excited for her to be the softball coach, the direction of the program. Right. But she's a good person. And
yeah, absolutely.
When they win games and they're good people, it makes it. There's no requisite. We know that. Yeah. You don't have to be a great person to be a great coach.
No.
But it's nice when it does cross over.
And so and somewhat rare.
Yeah. So that's a good way to put it. So this is the time of year where we reflect on everything that happened last year, and we look forward to next year. Right. We're moving forward. We're starting with, and then of course the excitement builds for football. So this is the dead season. This is a hard season. I know it's hard for y'all to fill content and fill hours and of you know. And I remember for David and Gabe and all those times, for years always trying to find something. But again, there's still tons to talk about, especially on your front with recruiting.
Right. Well, what's funny is the difference between this June, July, and August compared to last, where the baseball team obviously played to the last day of the season. Right. Then the coaching change, then the portal and the player. It was like, all right, once baseball got completely off of my plate and out of it, got digested by the fan base, we looked up and football's 2 weeks away.
You had to jump.
Yeah. It's very different this summer.
Yes. Very different. A little more laid back. But it's by the way, is there a pool party this year? Are the pool parties gone?
I think they're gone because Jason probably listening. He'll text me, but I think A&M, they're looking to do something. I just don't know that it's a pool party or it's going to be at the same time.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything's convoluted nowadays. The pool party was like one of my favorite events, and it was one of the more meaningful events in the A&M recruiting calendar.
Had some success at the pool party.
But I'm telling you what A&M's done with their spring visits spring games do not matter.
Yeah.
And I think everybody sees that now. Spring games, what happens on the field doesn't matter. What happens on the recruiting front doesn't matter. But A&M kind of switching that with Mike Elko and bringing these kids in on these their junior days were fantastic, but bringing these kids in to watch practice and like those being their big recruiting events in the spring, I think has paid dividends, and we're seeing it so far this summer.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, so that's the stuff. Yeah, that's what we're hanging our. That's what we're.
I think it was Bucky was talking about how much he enjoyed the community and how everything, and then he said, I think he said every player he brought on campus ended up committing.
Yeah, I mean, his hit rate's been incredible.
Yeah,
and I think with Bucky, just a new energy.
Yeah,
but also bringing guys in that are, and this was we had this conversation yesterday on the show about Jordan Peterson and the job he's doing as a recruiter on the football team. And then you look at, Cliff Pennington is a similar way on the baseball side. And, the fact that Kyle Keller and Mitch Cole have been at Texas A&M, that's cool, whatever. But they were brought in not because of that. They were brought in because they got real chops as coaches and recruiters. Frank Haith the same way. If you can if those guys check all those boxes like Jordan Peterson, like the fact that Jordan Peterson is from Lexington and played in Texas A&M, cool, fine.
Yeah.
But the reason why he got this job wasn't because of those check marks on his history.
Yeah.
That's a bonus.
Yeah.
Cliff Pennington the same way. Cliff Pennington's a really good coach. He's a really good developer of talent. He can really coach the game of baseball. Oh, by the way, he played at A&M.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right.
And it's the same thing with Mitch Cole and Kyle Keller. He brought in, to me, Bucky's he brought in a pack of wild dogs that hunt for him. And he said, I want that guy.
Yeah.
And Mitch Cole and Kyle Keller said, all right, we'll go get him.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. And it's crazy. I think their hunt, for lack of a better term, had to be kind of narrowed because of the time restrictions. Right. But I think as you see them be able to broaden that out and expand in the high school ranks and getting a full portal cycle, I think you're only going to see this improve.
When is the baseball portal?
Right now.
Right now. Okay, that's right.
There's a giant thread. There's a website called TexAgs.com. Sign up, premium subscription. Okay?
I'm a premium subscriber.
Okay, if you have premium access, you can go to this thing. It's called Billy Lucci's. Let's see, Billy Lucci's TexAgs Premium. You click on that. I'm just going to get. There may be some people that are listening that don't. Okay, you click on that. At the top, there's sticky threads that they don't move for a while until we unstick them. There's one that says 2025 baseball transfer portal thread. Okay, 711,000 views, over 3,000 comments in 18 days.
Oh my gosh.
There's baseball stuff happening.
Oh yeah.
And they are this close to making some big news.
Good.
Real
All right.
close.
I'm keeping up, and I'll comment. My handle is Matthew Dawson is awesome. That's me.
Matthew Dawson Stan. That's what they call him now.
Well, and baseball just picked up a pitcher from
Clemson.
Clemson, yeah.
Ethan Darden. We haven't spoken a ton about him today. I'm probably going to get into more baseball stuff tomorrow. I will say that I'm efforting Cliff Pennington on the show tomorrow, so you'll want to tune into that if I'm able to get him.
Heck yeah.
It's kind of tough with Coach Pennington because he is, trying to obviously help A&M recruit, but he's been living in Dallas because he's been coaching at DBU, so he's got to get family moved, find house. Like there's all this stuff that people don't realize that happens in a coaching change. So he's doing all that. So if we can get Coach Pennington tomorrow, I'll have him on the show. But yeah, so Ethan Darden, left-handed pitcher out of Clemson. They got Preston Prince, a left-handed pitcher with some, there's some stuff that makes you, they really need to bring him in, but then there's some stuff that goes, okay, if this works out, it could be a big impact player. They got the outfielder from Florida Atlantic, Jake Dewar, who is high school teammates with Caden Sorrell, who, as expected, coming back.
Yeah.
And then MJ Brauninger, a kid, a right-handed reliever. So they've done some good job. They've done a good job adding pieces, but they're close on adding a real impact player, like real close.
Like just a couple of them, or just the?
Well, there's one that they're very close on, but they're bringing in a lot more visitors this week. This baseball portal, it closes on July. Let's see, July the 1st is the last day to enter, and then you have the MLB draft on the 13th. So you really won't know what your roster is going to look like until the draft happens, which is the job that these college baseball coaches have to do to construct a roster right now.
That is amazing.
You can have it all set, and then the MLB comes in and plucks 4 or 5 of your guys. All right, we got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. We're hitting all sports. I mean, we're talking everything here on the Fan Show with Matt Browning and Royce Hittman. When we come back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers inside the Rollo Insurance Studios. I'm Ryan Brauninger, Royce Hickman, and Matt Browning here in the fan show. And, we're in a run out the clock situation, and we're talking everything, right?
Everything.
Right.
Let's bring it.
So this is the 4-minute offense. We need to just keep the chains moving, keep the clock rolling, and before you know it, we're out of here for a Thursday morning.
Hey, I love it. Let's do it. I'm down.
So, as we were, we talk a lot during the break, and sometimes I wish we could just keep the microphones rolling and hot and record the in-break conversations and play them when we're on air, because a lot of the stuff that I think some good stuff gets lost, especially when Olin Buchanan's sitting in that chair. Some really good stuff
I bet
gets
that's
lost.
true, yeah.
But we were talking about buckyball in the break, and from a fan's perspective, Matt, what do you want to see? You saw 6 years of buzz in the way they play.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just going for entertainment purposes to watch Aggie basketball, and obviously, what's entertaining wins. So whether you score 40 points or 140 points, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
But stylistically, what do you want to see that will entertain you?
So that's a good question. So in the break we were talking, and Luke comes in, and we've already talked to Logan Lee and what they've seen in practice, and just kind of getting a little taste of what And then anyone who's seen buckyball, at Sanford and everything else, can see that this is going to be a complete polar opposite of what we were used to during buzzball, right? So buckyball versus buzzball is going to be polar opposite. And it kind of makes me think about going from the Sherman era to the Sumlin era.
Okay.
From an offensive standpoint, okay? Now, and I'm not saying we have a Johnny Manziel on that team, but the stylistic change of going from that pro style, slow run, Tannehill drop back to Johnny, and to that style of run, go. And so that's kind of a comparison I make from stylistically what we're going from to. And so, yes, we got used to good defense, energy, offensive rebounding, but some pretty poor offense.
Slow pace offense.
There were times where we were amazing on offense, but we would go 10 minutes without a single point.
My joke was that I don't know if they tracked this, but A&M had to lead the country in dribbles per possession.
At least. And then we would dribble around, and then we would just jack up, most of the time, a pretty bad shot.
5 seconds left in the shot clock. They're trying to get the ball to the rim or to the right, whatever. Yep.
And so by switching to buckyball, we're going to see a very different style of basketball. I think we're gonna have some struggles on the defensive end, but offensively, it is going to be high-flying, lots of shots, three-pointer, dunks. There's going to be a very, very different, big difference in what we've become accustomed to what we're going to. And so I think from an entertainment standpoint, I think we're going to be pretty darn entertained.
Well, and Royce too.
If you like offense,
how much leeway does Bucky get? Because there are a group of people in today's college athletics that think you should be able to turn something around that quick. But when you look at what he walked into, I think he's going to get a little bit of a grace period here.
I hope so, because I think he deserves a grace period. You stop and think, you talk about the cupboard being bare. I mean, he didn't even have a cupboard,
right?
But I would think there's a grace period. But to be honest with you, I think he's going to do okay, because I think I agree about the style of the offense. We're going to go from an offense whose objective is getting the ball in the net versus one whose objective is to rebound the miss.
Mm-hmm.
And, that worked for Buzz, and I'm not saying anything else, but and look at how many of the players he's brought in have a really high percentage of three-point makes.
Well, and from a leeway standpoint, I'm going to say something that some people might not like, especially Aggie basketball fans. I love Aggie basketball, but Aggie basketball, the pressure is never going to be as high for that Aggie basketball coach as it is for Aggie baseball or football. It just never is. And so, unless we actually get some success,
you go on a run now I think there's a lot more pressure on Nate Oates than there ever has been at Alabama.
Oh, absolutely,
because what he's done.
Oh,
correct.
Yeah.
And so I think from that standpoint, he'll never have the pressure Elko or Early have. He just won't. And so I think he's got plenty of leeway. I think that I hate to say it, but as Aggie basketball fan, we're good with a tournament appearance, and we'd like to get to the Sweet 16. Now, I think that's kind of that's our. Hey, that was a great season. Yes, right. And so I hate saying this, but I'm being a realist. That's really kind of how it is with basketball.
Well, I was disappointed last year in the number of times we lost the game because somebody hit 3-pointer, got hot with 3-pointers. I'm hoping that's what we're the ones hitting the 3-pointers at the end of the game.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like I view everything, probably too many things in my life, through the lens of baseball.
Yeah.
So even when I'm looking at other sports,
you're a baseball guy.
Yeah, I do it through a baseball lens. And one of the things that I know that Coach Early liked about Cliff Pennington and hiring him is one of Cliff's philosophies is play the whole game.
Yeah.
Play the whole game. So I think with Bucky, there's a clear, that's Cliff Pennington's message. Like that's what he believes in. I think there's some clear ethos here with what Bucky believes in. And you're right, Matt, it is completely 180 than what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like a guy, whatever his philosophy is, if he's all in on it,
yeah,
I like being all in on it. And in this case, I like being all in on a philosophy that is that much different than what we've seen. No different. Cliff Pennington, I think for a long time, Aggie baseball is going, okay, we're going to hit our home runs. Like that's how we're going to score runs. We're going to walk.
Yeah.
We're going to hit home runs. And I love that philosophy. I think in today's baseball, that is how you score runs the most consistently over the course of a year. Let me get on first base and somebody behind me is going to hit a homer. But if you're not doing that like we saw this season, you need to be able to play the whole game.
Yep.
I need to be able to steal. I need to be able to execute hit and runs, bunts. If I got to squeeze,
sacrifices, yeah.
We saw it against LSU in the SEC tournament where they call a safety squeeze. It's executed perfectly, and the runner doesn't run at third. It's just play the whole game.
Right.
And if you hit a bunch of homers, you don't have to play the whole game, but you need to be ready to play it just in case.
That's right.
So I'm pumped about that with Bucky. He's got a clear system. And he's confident in it.
That's just what I was going to add. He believes in it, and it comes out. I mean, a lot of times coaches will talk about that, and that all sounds good. But in his case, it sounds like it's coming right from
and I think
inside.
Fans have gotten so good at kind of reading through coach speak, and especially like you look from an A&M fan perspective. And I'll ask you this, Matt. Like it got like toward the end of Jimbo.
Yep.
If you heard one press conference, you heard all of them.
Yep.
Right? Because
you could predict what he was going to say.
Right, and it becomes stale, and like you just didn't believe it.
Yeah, 100%. But when Bucky comes in, and he lays it out. He's like, "This is what we're going to do. When we're not trying to fool anybody. This is exactly the way we're going to play. This is how we're going to do it." And you got to appreciate that. And I mean, same thing with when Elko came in, and I mean, he said all the right things, and he still is. I mean, so when these coaches get going, and in the beginning, that's what fires us up. This is the stuff we want to hear from our coaches in the beginning. And so we all and maybe we've hired some guys that are really good talkers in the past, and so some of us might be getting a little
jaded.
I could say, but with Bucky, I mean, he there was no bones about it. This is the way we're going to play, and this is what we're going to do, and I love it. I love hearing that sort of stuff, and. He's got. I think as fans too need to go into it with the proper expectations, right? Proper expectations for this basketball team is we have a brand new coaching staff with a completely new roster, and he's going to need some time to build it. But we're going to see some. I have no doubt we're going to see some fun, high flying, awesome basketball. But I mean, the idea of us making the tournament year one, if that's your expectation, then you're bound to be disappointed. I mean, so go into it with the expectation, going, hey, this is going to be a build year. Put the product on the court. That way, some transfers and some recruits can see it and see, hey, I want to play that style of basketball. That style of basketball in the SEC, mind you. I want to play that style of basketball, and then come this time next year, we're getting some big time. We're getting some more talent, bigger players, all the things that we need. But I think if you go into it with an expectation of, hey, this is a build year. Let's build. Let's see some fun, high flying basketball. But if we go into the expectation that we need to make the tournament in year one with a brand spanking new roster, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, the coaching staff that hasn't totally worked together, there's Some of them I know.
And if we do make the tournament, then you can be over the moon. Congratulations.
And I'm looking forward to seeing them playing better at the end of the season than they started off. And
that should improve.
Yeah.
And we just saw this.
If you see that, and you know, they've got a chance to do more.
Yeah.
Because he's got the roster. It's just a matter, can they get them all together, playing together, and buy into the system in 1 year? That's tough.
And we just saw this with Early.
Yep.
Early coming in. Now, of course, our expectations were through the roof. Right. But I think a lot of us didn't really put together the fact that this was a mostly new roster. I mean, we had three.
Especially after the injuries.
Yes, we had three big-time key guys coming back. Yes, we had, and three of our best players I think we may have ever had. I mean, especially Jace. I think Jace will probably go down as our greatest position player in A&M history. I do think that. And then, I mean, you got with Gavin and Sorrell, and of course the injuries and everything else that happened. I mean, so our expectations were up here, and then of course, that's why we were all just so darn deflated. So I think going into basketball next year, I think that the expectations, if we keep them low, be excited about seeing a new style of basketball. What the future holds in basketball, I think then you'll be thrilled with the season.
All right, up against the break. When we come back, we're going to turn our attentions to Kyle Field and football. I want to get these guys' take on some of the SEC quarterback rankings that have started to come out as we are right in the thick of talking season here in June on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Ryan Brauninger, Royce Hickman, Matt Browning on the Fan Show. Matthew Dawson over there, been putting out the vibe in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
Matthew's been quiet since I showed the video of his high school football.
Yeah, but humbly quiet, you know? Like, he realizes what he put on. And look, it's getting some run on social media already.
Just refreshing my email for that, Mike Elko email.
Hey,
some
you
help
seen
and
any
safety.
game film?
Yeah.
I mean, you still got some eligibility left.
Great segue, by the way, because we're going to talk Aggie football. We're going to talk quarterbacks, and it's been it was a spirited discussion, I would say, between myself, Stephen McGee, and Olin earlier, just kind of where Marcel Reed fits in this hierarchy of quarterbacks. And again, this is talking season. So all these lists that everybody's coming up with, nobody's going to care once the ball snaps.
Right.
They don't matter one bit.
Mm-hmm.
They don't determine any kind of win or loss, completion, incompletion, interception. They don't matter. But this is what we have to talk about. And the example that I used from yesterday when I was driving home, I had Jake Crane's podcast on, and they were ranking the quarterbacks in the NFL, and they got to select their ranking. 3 guys there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and all that kind of stuff. So they had Lenoris Sellers first. And I'm fine with that. Like, if you're looking at it through a lens of, I'm looking for the guy that's going to win me the most college football games, which I think that's all that matters. Like, I don't care about the NFL. I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, Lenoris Sellers can absolutely win you a bunch of college football games. He did it at South Carolina. You can make a real argument they should have been in the playoff, and had they gotten in the playoff, if they'd have gone to a Final Four, would it have surprised either one of you?
Yeah.
No.
Especially the way that guy, we just pinballed off the guy the entire game. It's like nothing I've ever seen. So, yeah, especially we as Aggie fans, we're going, that guy's pretty darn good.
Well, and they reminded me a little bit of the 2012 A&M team with Johnny.
Yeah.
Where at the end of the year, who was playing better football than that 2012 A&M team? There wasn't one. And South Carolina, very similar last year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were. I mean, that guy was.
They were playing outstanding football.
Yeah. They were. And then but the issue that I had with this, and everybody's got an opinion, and part of me thinks that this is the reason why they picked John Mateer too, so that everybody in the region that had radio shows the next day could come on and they were all going to break this down. But they had John Mateer at Oklahoma too, who, as Matthew Dawson acutely pointed out during the break, what do you love about John Mateer? Is it his? You can go through the list.
I love his offensive coordinator. That's what I love. I mean, is it his below average arm strength? Is it his pretty average height? Is it his average mobility? I mean, maybe he's a little bit more athletic than I'm giving him credit for, but I mean, you were talking about that they just want like winners. Okay, was it his loss to New Mexico or was it loss to Oregon State that impressed you? And I like John Mateer, but I like him with Ben Arbuckle at offensive coordinator. If I'm drafting him to play quarterback for my team, Ben Arbuckle better be my offensive coordinator is all I'm going to say.
Well, but where would you, if you're drafting quarterbacks in the league, would he even sniff your top 5?
No, he's not.
And that was my issue. That's such an outlier.
Yeah, I'm not sure top 10 even.
Yeah, I mean,
I could probably go toward the back half of the top 10. And really, if you wanted, to me, he's right there with Marcel.
Yeah.
Like if you want to put them 7, 8, 6, 7, whatever, fine with me. But that's kind of where I'm at on Mateer. And everybody's fine to have your own opinion. But to bump him ahead of some guys.
I wonder if it's because Oklahoma, right? But again, it's not. He's not playing for dry fit. He's playing. He's playing for Venables, and so you're used to Oklahoma having these great quarterbacks, and then they bring in a guy that's got some. He's got some trophies on the wall, I guess you could say, or not trophies, pelts on the wall or whatever. But yeah, I think that there may be something there. But I will say, give Crane and Crane some credit that they didn't. I'd rather them go that route than some other guys that could have been that everybody else is real high on that has shown nothing yet.
It's just surprising to me that they didn't take Nussmeier one of the first 2 picks.
Yeah,
and because when you look around the league, he is the most experienced guy that we know the most about.
Yeah.
Right, and he's got the best numbers. He's got a really talented receiver group. I got questions about LSU. I got real questions about LSU. I'm not saying that they can't be good, and I'm not saying they won't beat Texas A&M. A&M hasn't beaten them in Baton Rouge in how long? Long time.
I was in high school.
So it's going to be hard for me to predict that A&M is going to go down there and beat them.
R.C. Slocum days.
But they lost both tackles and both guards on an offensive line that broke down at times last year. And when that offensive line broke down, Garrett Nussmeier started throwing the ball to the other team.
He did.
A lot.
Yeah.
And especially on the road.
That second half against his first half here, he played great.
Yep.
Second half, he was he fell off. So I mean, again, if you're looking at, I mean, I agree with Lenore Sellers. I think that's good. I think me personally, I would go Nussmeier second just because you're exactly what you're saying. He's the most experienced. He's probably got the best arm, the most accurate arm of anybody. I mean, he's not a athlete back there, but he's got a good arm. So I think he would be that way too. But if I'm putting Garrett Nussmeier as the second best quarterback in the SEC going into the season as of right now, what does that say about the overall quarterback crop of the SEC?
Well, I'm sitting here looking through, this is 247's list right now, okay? And that's the issue, is after Nussmeier and Sellers, it really is kind of pick your poison here.
It is.
And I personally would have DJ Lagway 3. Just because I've seen him so much at Willis in high school, and you saw the glimpses last year, there's no denying the talent. Off the charts talent. I got questions, though, about him and how much they are going to lean on him, because Billy Napier has to win games. Oklahoma has to win games.
Yeah.
Arkansas has to win games.
Yeah.
All those coaches are on the hottest of hot seats.
Yeah.
No question.
So when you're going to do that, and you've got a guy like Lagway, how much are you going to put on his shoulders? And he's a sharp kid. I like his leadership capability. He's capable of doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
But is he ready?
Yeah, I mean, so that's the way you look at this list, right? Okay, you got the two guys that are fairly established, right? And then you've got the unknowns, right? You've got your Arches, you've got your Gunnar Stocktons, you've got DJ Lagway. I think from what we've seen so far, it's kind of all we can go by. And what we've seen so far between, say, those three guys, I'd say Lagway is definitely shows the most flashes. Now, again, we haven't seen much of Arch. And again, his last name's Manning, and he plays for that terrible school. But he's, he's shown a little bit in his little bit of time. But I agree with you. I think Lagway would probably be third. I do think that.
All right, we did a great job running out the clock. We got one more segment left.
And then Marcel, they had Marcel at 6, just so because I know everyone out there is thinking.
They had Marcel at 7.
7, sorry.
Behind Diego Pavia. 247 has Marcel at 11th.
Oh,
guys ahead of him, Ty Simpson. Jackson Arnold? Convince me that Jackson Arnold's going to be better than.
Yeah. Hey, Marcel, get mad about it.
I'm expecting more things out of Marcel this
Taylor
year.
Green, Arkansas. I like Taylor Green.
Yeah.
I don't know. He'd probably be in that similar John Mateer, Marcel level.
I hope that puts a chip on his shoulder.
But there's a lot of unknowns. Austin Simmons at Ole Miss, the system says he's going to probably throw for a lot of yards, but haven't seen very much of him. Anyway, we'll come back. We'll close the show here on TexAgs Live on a Thursday morning, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I know I'm back, Nick, but do I give away pizza right now? No? Okay. I don't know. This is a B team. I'm telling you, we're flying by the seat of our pants, and we are almost to the finish line. We are
live radio
at the finish line. But it's my fault because I don't like wearing these when I'm talking in here. And that's how Nick communicates with the host about, hey, you need to break. Hey, this guy's on the phone. And it's my fault for not wearing them. So then I was trying to ask Nick if we need to do some giveaways here at the end of the show. And because I never have my headphones in, it's my fault. So
it's funny
this is a precedent that I have set.
When David's here, we don't hear anything because he's talking through the thing. But when Bronny's here, you hear Nick yelling through the door at him. So.
I need to be yelled at. I do well with that in my life. My wife, she's figured that out pretty quick. Just yell at him and he'll figure it out. I'd rather you yell at me than me not know what you want. And as both of you know, with a lot of times with women, at least for me, I don't know what you want.
I don't.
Just scream at me and tell me what you want.
Just tell me. I don't pick up hints. I don't get innuendo. Just tell me straight up what you want, and I'll help you.
You get the. Hey, aren't you going to help me clean out the garage? I didn't know I was supposed to.
Yeah.
If you'll tell me.
Yeah. I want you to clean out the garage.
I didn't know you wanted it cleaned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me exactly what you want, and I promise I'll make it happen for you.
I've been telling you how frustrated I am about the clutter.
Yeah.
I was like, just tell me to clean the stupid garage, and I'll clean it.
If you want flowers, just tell us you want flowers. We'll get them.
See, I do a good job about that.
Yeah. So when I get home, my wife's going to say, would you clean out the garage? And I'm going to call you.
Your voice just added to your workload today.
You and I are going to have a conversation off air.
You're retired, correct? Semi-retired.
Yeah,
okay?
I work part-time.
So Matt, he can use, but he can always use work as an excuse.
Right. Yeah,
I got to call. I got to go out to a job site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Am I revealing your wife ain't listening to this?
No, she didn't listen.
No, my wife is though. Yeah, and thanks a lot.
Well, I'm sure Matt's wife is like, why would I? My wife's the same way. Why would I listen to him on air?
Yeah, I promise you, I've been doing this for what, I don't know, 8 or 9 years now. Been doing the show for 8 or 9 years. My wife has never once listened to a single show. Not once.
Well, Nick, shake your head. You got a new wife. Does she listen to the show? Shake your head, yes or no. Sometimes, just to keep tabs on Nick.
Yep.
All right. Well, we got through an entire show without talking about. We talked a little bit about baseball, but Caden Sorrell coming back, and it was
That's
never
a big deal.
It is a big deal, but it was never. I can tell you this: the baseball staff was never really worried about it. The players were never really worried about it. Hayden Schott had a fun time with my tweet announcing that Sorrell was coming back.
Oh yeah,
just because everybody knew it was going to happen. But look, they got to play well and they got to stay healthy. After watching what we did this spring, we know that. But to start off with Grahovic, Keel, and Sorrell as the core position player, and Bear Harrison coming back as your core position, they're going to be in a pretty good spot again.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good. The cupboard is definitely not bare. This is a very different situation than basketball. So the cupboard is definitely not bare. There's some absolute studs on this team.
Well, and they got to replace some pitching. But what happens if you get Shane Sadeo back? Or Weston Moss and Caden Wilson, and then you start going, okay, like. They got to play better. They got to coach better. We know all that. But what did I say? The job of a coach, build a roster can get you there.
Get us there. That's all I want.
And you've got a coach who's got a year under his belt, too. And I think that first year is a big learning year, and things you thought might work when you were an assistant coach don't necessarily work.
All right, we got to get out of here. Thank you guys. I know. Thank you guys for coming in. TexAgs Live will be right back here tomorrow morning. I'm in the chair again. B-teamers, assemble.